Tam uthitam viksha kulachalam punaha. Samujjata nirmatitum surasuraha. Samujjata nirmatitum surasuraha. Dadhara prishtena salaksha yojana. Dadhara prishtena salaksha yojana. Prastadina dvipa iva paro mahan. Prastadina dvipa iva paro mahan. Tam uthitam viksha kulachalam punaha. Samujjata nirmatitum surasuraha. Dadhara prishtena salaksha yojana. Prastadina dvipa iva paro mahan. Tam uthitam viksha kulachalam punaha. Samujjata nirmatitum surasuraha. Dadhara prishtena salaksha yojana. Tam uthitam viksha kulachalam punaha. Samujjata nirmatitum surasuraha. Dadhara prishtena salaksha yojana. Prastadina dvipa iva paro mahan. Ladies? Tam uthitam viksha kulachalam punaha. Samujjata nirmatitum surasuraha. Dadhara prishtena salaksha yojana. Prastadina dvipa iva paro mahan. Tam, that mountain. Uttitam, lifted. Viksha, observing. Kulachalam, known as Mandara. Punaha, again. Samujjataha, enlivened. Nirmatitum, to churn the ocean of milk. Sura asuraha, the demigods and the demons. Dadhara, carried. Prishtena, by the back. Saha, the Supreme Lord. Lakshayojana, 100,000 yojanas. And that is 800,000 miles. That's a lot, huh? Prastadina, extending. Dvipaha, a big island. Iva, like. Aparaha, another. Mahan, very big. Translation: when the demigods and demons saw that Mandara mountain had been lifted, they were enlivened and encouraged to begin churning again. The mountain rested on the back of the great tortoise, which extended for 800,000 miles like a large island. Text 10. Suras sudendrair bhujaviriya vepitam paribramantam girim anga prishtataha bhibratat avartanam adi kachchapo meninga kanduyanam aprameyaha. O king, when the demigods and demons, by the strength of their arms, rotated Mandara mountain on the back of the extraordinary tortoise, the tortoise accepted the rolling of the mountain as a means of scratching his back, scratching his body. And thus he felt a pleasing sensation. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always the Unlimited. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his body as a tortoise, held on his back the largest of mountains, Mandara Parvata, he did not feel any inconvenience. On the contrary, he apparently felt some itching, and thus the rotation of the mountain was certainly very pleasing. So this is an incredible story. It's a real story. Sometimes we may have a difficulty accepting this. But since we accept the Vedic scriptures, we have to accept the whole package. We cannot say that we accept one part of the Bhagavatam and some parts that we don't like, we reject. Because if you reject one thing, you can reject the whole thing. Just like a sweater. He's got a sweater. If you start taking out a thread, the whole sweater can dissolve. You pull the thread and the whole sweater is gone eventually. So if you pull out one thing from the Bhagavatam you don't believe or accept, then the whole thing, it's a whole package. You need translation? There are so many English speaking. But you can do line by line if you want, loudly. But you don't understand?
Just speak slowly.
I don't. Sentence by sentence is okay for me. Okay. So we can say that also there are so many instructions in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada is giving us so many instructions. And if we reject some of these instructions, it won't work. we need to accept all of the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. And not that it's not that Prabhupada is giving instructions for each and every one of us. For that we need a spiritual master, a guru. So Prabhupada may say in one purport that family life is good in Krishna consciousness. In another purport he may say the contrary. He may say you should renounce, it's the dark well. So that's why we need a spiritual master. And also when Prabhupada is talking about renunciation, we have to take into account that we, Westerners, are very uprooted. We are so renunciation for us may not be like renunciation in India, or at that time in India, that you have to leave your village, you have to leave. We don't even have a village. We don't even have village culture in the West. In India, the culture, there is still some culture. Prabhupada said the Vedic culture is dead. But and the Vedic culture is like an elephant. So an elephant is valuable even if he's dead. You can take the tusk, what you call the ivory. So the Vedic culture is not really alive in India, but there's still some remnants. So for us, we may not have to take sannyas, probably not, or anything like that. How we will make advancement is going through a gradual process of purification. And that means following Krishna's system of varna and asrama. Sometimes we may like to jump over all of that and just become transcendental immediately. Usually that won't work. Usually you get into some kind of craziness. Or you may give all your belongings away and somehow artificially renounce everything. But then you still have all the material desires. You may do the physical renunciation. You may become outward, you may wear a certain dress and so on. But we have to be very honest with ourselves and see that we may have some material desires. And we can fulfill them. It's not forbidden. Of course, there are some material desires that are quite forbidden, that we should not fulfill. We may have them. But you can fulfill them in a good way by trying to engage our nature in Krishna's service. So Prabhupada calls this to dovetail. Do you know that word? Dovetail. In French, is it? Dovetail in English, it's a carpenter's expression, actually. In French, it's tenons et mortaises. You know this? You know what that is? When you build a house, you have tenons, is la femelle, the piece of wood is femelle, and the mortaise is the male that goes into Do you understand? So a dovetail is the joint. So when the wood is joined together, it's very strong. So Prabhupada said we should dovetail our material desires with Krishna's service, like this. Of course, a dove is a bird. A pigeon. No, what is it? Is it a pigeon? Yeah. What is that? It's a different bird. It's a bird, that's for sure. So the tail of the pigeon. Anyway, we should engage our material propensities in Krishna's service, and then actually they are no longer, our activities are no longer material. So it's a gradual process that requires patience, determination. We require guidance. We cannot see our own nature. As I was just talking to one devotee about, who said that sometimes our mind is so strong that we are overpowered by our mind. Happens every day, maybe. And it's so strong that we don't understand actually what we want, even what we want. We're not even conscious of what we want. So maybe we should first become conscious of what we actually want to do. But sometimes devotees say, well, I just want to do what Krishna wants, or what my Guru Maharaj wants. So let me just get an order from him. It may not work like that. It may not be as simple as that. Well, it is simple, but we have to use our intelligence. We have to make it rotate. Not just become blind followers. That is not Prabhupada's. Prabhupada's mood is we become independently thoughtful. So we may ask, then we may ask our Guru. It depends on the Guru, of course, what he will say. What should I do? Then he may say, what do you want to do for Krishna? That can happen. Oops. Then we have some desires. Krishna has his desires. We may have material desires. We can have spiritual desires that are coming from us, that I want to do something for Krishna. I would like to do this specific offering for Krishna. That is there also. It may be, we may not be sure if it may be material or spiritual or mixed. But anything we do for Krishna is good. Yeah, so here's it's really extraordinary what we hear about here. The demigods and the demons, they are actually cooperating here. That's very interesting. Because both of them want some nectar from this ocean of milk. So we all want some nectar. But sometimes we may cooperate with people who may not be so spiritual. I think there are some examples of that in ISKCON, but also in the Gaudiya Math, original Gaudiya Math. Not the present Gaudiya Math is not the Gaudiya Math. There are many, many mats. But the Gaudiya Mat established by Bhaktisiddhanta, sometimes he would take people who were not so spiritual and put them like managers to get things done. So in that way, he was using, there was one, what was his name? Something with Lal, who was in charge of, I think, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace. I heard about this. He was...
Who managed, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Managed the whole Gaudiya mission.
The whole Gaudiya mission, huh?
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's not such a spiritual person.
Yeah, and they were complaining about him, the God brothers. But he was an excellent manager. Sometimes it may be difficult to find an excellent manager and an excellent devotee at the same time. But that, I think, is not necessarily a big problem, that you don't have to be both to be a leader. The leader, the actual leader, is actually the Brahmana. We should remember. I think in the West, sometimes we don't understand this principle. We think the leader is the one with the money, right? That's the leader. That's the real thing, not the spiritual. What is that? Maybe in India you understand more this principle. Like Radhanath Swami, he's the leader of, what's he called? Chaupadi. But he's not the hands-on manager. Maybe sometimes, I don't know. But that's another person. So you can have a spiritual leader who gives direction, and he has a manager, hands-on manager. He may not be so advanced or very, very spiritual. But if he follows the directions of the Brahmana, then it works out. But maybe this is a little different than the demons and the demigods are cooperating here. It may even be a rare occasion. We can say also that sometimes we try to cooperate with the government to keep good relations. It may be officially that we cooperate with the government, but sometimes, and that may be difficult for us to understand or accept, sometimes we have to, how can I say, we have to be law-abiding, good devotees, but sometimes not. Because just like you have the example of like Shukracharya, he was guru of Bali Maharaj. If, for example, if the government tells us like this, you cannot worship Vishnu or Krishna, should we accept? Is that acceptable?
No.
So what should we do? Yeah, that's a challenge. Because this that has happened and is happening. Like there's one, in Armenia, it was quite heavy. If you know the book, The Salted Bread, you have read that, or you have heard about Salted Bread, you know this book? About how the devotees from Armenia suffered so much to propagate Krishna consciousness, and some of them even gave their lives. They even went to basically like a concentration camp where they were tortured, and where I think 2 of them or 3 of them died. That's a challenge. It's a challenge if the government doesn't support us In Scandinavia, for example, in Norway, they support us. They give us money. Here they don't, I suppose. I don't think so. And you cannot even come to schools and teach about Krishna consciousness here in France. That we can also do in Scandinavia. But in Armenia, it was even much worse than that. Now I think it's improving. But that was in 1995. That was also during the time where there was a war. Now there's a war again. There's a full-scale war going on in Armenia now again. At that time there was a war also. And one day 20 people came to the temple, a group of 20 people with submachine guns, rifles, iron rods, and they didn't shoot the devotees, but they beat the hell out of them with iron rods. They beat them on the head. They all had head injuries. There's a famous picture of one brahmachari covered in blood. You may have seen from this book, Salted Bread. When they called the police, they didn't come. And when they went to the police station, covered in blood, the police officers said, "We don't help people like you because you don't follow the national tradition." And the national tradition in Armenia is very old. It was the first country where Christianity became a religion, state religion. I think it was not very, very long time after Jesus Christ appeared. So they have a very old tradition. But obviously they're not pure devotees. Far from that. So that's a big, big challenge. But the Armenian devotees especially, they kept on distributing Prabhupada's books in secret. And they got the KGB on their back, and they got beaten up can you imagine? You go on Sankirtan, every day you get beaten to blood, every single day, and you still go out. That's heavy. Then you're really
historically it's
determined.
turning around. That was long before 95.
Yeah, that was before 95.
And they were not distributing books in Armenia. That was the trick.
Yeah, in Russia.
They printed the books in Armenia.
Aha, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's why so many Armenian devotees live in other countries also. So the government, yes, we try to cooperate to some extent, and at least for the simple reason that they're stronger than us. Physically stronger, they have guns, they can exercise their power. I heard one definition of government by Ravindra Swarup. See if I remember, something like the government means they have monopoly on legalized violence or something like that. They have monopoly on exercising violence. They can put you in jail or even kill you. And it's like a license to kill, like James Bond. That's what the government is like. So, but we have Krishna. And Krishna is stronger. There was the battle of... was it the battle of Ayodhya? The battle of what? The city of... Ravana. What was the name? Lanka. The demons had many kinds of weapons. Maybe advanced weapons, different types of weapons. But the monkeys, they just had their fists and tree trunks and stones, and they won because they had Rama. we may not believe that, really. We may think, nah, it's just a story, But no, even though you may have the whole world against you, if you have Krishna on your side, you're gonna win. You're gonna win. Maybe you're not gonna win. Maybe you're gonna get killed, actually. But you're gonna win in the sense that you're fighting for Krishna. You may be fighting in a different way. We're not all meant for fighting like a soldier on a battlefield, maybe. But we all have our battlefield. We may come to spiritual life and think that spiritual life is just peace and love. It may be, but not all the time. We have the battlefield of our own mind, and you may have experience with that while chanting your japa. And sometimes it's a battlefield. And in the battlefield you have to fight. If you don't fight, you're gonna get killed, you're gonna get captured, whatever. You're gonna get captured by your mind. And the mind will dictate so many things. We have to control that mind. And that is the real battle. And if we fight that battle early in the morning, especially, during the Brahma Muhurta is the best time for fighting, fighting that mind, then we can solve all of our problems. Personal and, social, all the problems we have, because, and especially as a manager or leader or person with responsibility, start to worry. But if we do this fight, or we control that mind from the beginning, then all the other problems will gradually, everything will fall in place. Krishna will give us, as in one purport of the Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada says, if you come to the mode of goodness, everything how to make further advancement will be revealed. I like that purport. Because sometimes we're puzzled, right? We don't know how we're going to deal with some certain situation, or how we're going to get the money, and blah, blah, blah. Krishna is going to reveal, give us intelligence, how to do things. And so we need to put ourselves in a situation where we can understand and hear what Krishna is speaking to us. He's speaking through so many persons, but he's speaking through our spiritual master, first of all. He's speaking through the Bhagavatam. Sometimes he may speak through people we don't expect. Some person on the street. So we should be attentive, we should be in the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, everything becomes clear. And from the mode of goodness, we can go to the transcendental platform gradually. And that may take some time before we get there, but we have to be moving in the right direction. If we move towards Krishna, that is good. We may be moving slowly, that's all right, but we're moving in the right direction. So there may be some questions or comments. Yeah.
Half a hand. Prabhupada gave the example of the half a hand.
Okay.
You know, when you cut out some part of the teachings and keep some part.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know the example?
Yeah. You just want the rear end that gives eggs, and the front end is disturbing because you have to feed it.
It costs money.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see that some people, they want Krishna consciousness, but they don't want the culture of Krishna consciousness. This is like Krishna West or something. But that doesn't work.
Very pointed.
Not all of them, but sometimes you see that. But then what is there left actually? Not much. Or like you want, you need to have the whole Varnashram also. You cannot just have only Brahmanas. Just Brahminical movement. Because the head needs a body. And the body needs a head. So I heard someone say that soon the head will get its body in ISKCON. Because we have the teachings of Prabhupada, and we have Brahmanas, but we need also to establish so many things. You need the body. So yeah, the hen without, not half a hen, not just a head, not just the arms, not just. Prabhupada said the modern society is legs with a little belly. Have you heard that? That's his description of the modern society. You have Shudras, lots of Shudras, most people Shudras, a few Vaishyas. A little belly, the Vaishya is the belly. Like in America, I heard that 95% or 90% of the wealth in America belongs to 5% of the population. So that's not very good. It's not very balanced. Because there are few Vaishyas, and they control not just the business, but they control even the army, the church. They control the business is controlling more and more everything. There are no Kshatriyas, no Brahmanas. There are few Vaishyas. So everything is business. Okay, anything else? I have one question for you, because I was wondering about something. I'm not sure I understand. Maybe you don't have an answer, because we were speaking about in the car about soldiers. Modern soldiers, they are all employed Shudras, more or less. So in a Vedic society, you understand that the Kshatriyas are the warriors, right? But if you have a big battle, like Kurukshetra, we have millions and millions of soldiers. Is it all right to have Shudras fighting? Or is it only Kshatriyas? What do you think?
Only Kshatriyas.
Only Kshatriyas in the battle, or do they have Shudras, like foot soldiers?
No, it's all Kshatriyas. May have an
Are you sure?
The Shudras are not supposed to assist all the other Varnas, so you cannot.
But they don't go to the battlefield.
Even if they have good money, if they don't.
Even if they...
They'll be motivated.
Because you need a lot of soldiers, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Cannon fodder.
Cannon fodder, as they say.
But in the Bhagavad Gita says even Shudra can do the job of a Brahmana if it's aware enough.
That I haven't heard from the Bhagavad Gita.
Kshatriya can do the job of a Brahmana if it's aware enough.
That's new for me. Anyway, I haven't heard that. Yes? What?
My understanding is that there are all different sorts of Sudras. There are Sudras who have the mentality to serve the Brahmin.
Yeah.
They sit there all day. Even they can't read, but they copy Shastras.
Okay.
You know? And then there are Shudras whose mentality is to serve different kinds of Kshatriyas.
Yeah.
So they will have the skill, you know, to drive the chariot.
Yeah.
bring the horses, but all different things, but they're all specific. Like in India, still in India, you have all these castes and subcastes and subcastes
Yeah.
based on what the people are actually doing.
It's not black and white.
So then you have Shudras who have the mentality who serve the Vaishyas of different sorts of big Vaishyas, small Vaishyas.
Yeah.
But their mentality is like a Vaishya, but they're not the Vaishya.
Mm-hmm.
But they have this mentality that they understand what to do, they get the instructions.
But then the question is, do they fight as Shudras?
Yeah, well, they would fight on instruction, yeah, they would have that. But they wouldn't be able to do on their own, they would have to have the shelter of actual.
Yeah, they cannot do it independently, that's clear.
That's how I would understand it, yeah. The Shudras, they can work very nicely, but they have
Yeah.
to have somebody taking care of them, they don't take the responsibility.
Mm.
That's the thing about Shudras, isn't it? They can do many, many things, but they can't take the final responsibility.
Yeah.
The darkness is that they don't have the mentality.
But then there's another point. I'm always interested in these kind of things about war. I don't know why. But if you have a modern war, as you said, you need cannon fodder because people are just getting eaten up by machine guns and artillery. And then you need a lot of soldiers. But in a traditional battle with swords and arrows, you may not need to kill so many. So I guess then you don't need all these Shudras so much.
But all the battles you can see, there's so many soldiers, like what, like some, in Kurukshetra, there's like, where the number was huge.
18 years dead.
Like the number was...
Yeah.
I understand that the foot soldiers, they are generally Shudras. But they are fighting under the Kshatriya commander.
Infantry.
Yeah, the infantry. They are Shudras.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Special Shudras.
But they, like Bhagavad said, they are not acting independently.
Mm.
They are under the command of
Yeah, because the Shudras in the modern war, a lot of them are not even they don't even want to fight, or they don't have this nature.
Prabhupada said that, he used that example because in connection with the Vietnam War, that the reason why the young Americans, they didn't want to go to Vietnam, it was the big thing, when we came to USA, was because they were all Shudras. Because they made a country of Shudras, so therefore they wouldn't go to war. We said that many times.
Mm.
So that's of course also there.
And the Kshatriyas in modern warfare, if there are any, they don't go in the front for good reasons.
Therefore they are not Kshatriya.
Yeah.
The Kshatriya, he will go to battle.
Yeah. And it's
He
stupid.
will either conquer or get killed. There's no question of coming back defeated from the battlefield.
It's even stupid to be chivalrous nowadays in a war. Even if you are chivalrous, you're just going to get yourself killed. So it's stupid. There's not much chivalry left. It's these times are, in one sense, over. It's just a question of who's got more tanks and guns and people, and those who run out first, they win. It's crazy. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the inspiring lecture about this battle with the mind during japa. And so we need to pray for the focus, but I heard from Vaisheshika Prabhu how he put like 40 big books and prayed during japa to Krishna that he can distribute it in the day.
40.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And so, what is better prayer? To pray that we do our service, that we distribute books, or just to pray to be focused during japa?
Well, you have to be focused to pray. You cannot pray if you're spaced out. So, yeah, maybe both. You can pray for facilities, there's nothing wrong with that. pray for facilities in Krishna service. Let me distribute many books. Let me get a lot of money for maintaining the temple, kitchen. It's all right. I don't think it's wrong.
Not while you're chanting japa.
Hmm?
When you're chanting, you should just be chanting. Not, I'm chanting japa so that I can distribute many books. Krishna will take care of that. We should pray for to be allowed to chant.
We should
Because
pray.
we cannot chant. Actually, Krishna, what happens when actually the holy name appears on our tongue, but he will not appear if he doesn't want to. So we have to ask him to appear. That's what we should pray for when we are chanting. Please Krishna, please appear on my tongue.
Praying with the holy name, for the holy name. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Gopal Prabhu ki.